guess I'm wondering, why was this press conference happening today now? I mean, it's Thanksgiving holiday in Canada. Why was this all coming out now?
News broke today from the RCMP when they announced evidence of significant foreign interference by the government of India related to a series of alleged violent crimes. Justin Trudeau followed that up with a press conference himself, and the timing could not be more suspicious, at least to us.
Let's take a look. So this is from the Globe and Mail today. We don't want to get into the entire press conference of the RCMP. It was frankly very poor quality because it was all held over Zoom. The tech guys didn't seem to know what they were doing, and it seemed to be a lot of just fluff, to be honest. But the headline reads, Indian government officials linked to homicides, extortions, and coercion in Canada pose threat to public safety, alleges RCMP.
Indian government agents have been linked to homicides, extortions, and other violent criminal activities in Canada, the RCMP said Monday, as Ottawa expelled India's High Commissioner and 5 other diplomats, plunging the already fraught relationship between the two countries into a deeper chill. The RCMP said they have clear evidence tying Indian officials to the crimes, but released no details, citing the need to protect open investigations and court proceedings. In an extraordinary cascade of events on Thanksgiving Monday, the Indian government also expelled 6 diplomats. Canada's expulsions were punishment for what it deemed India's failure to cooperate with police investigations, and India's were in retribution for what it called quote-unquote preposterous and politically motivated allegations. Each country's diplomats have until October 19th to leave. At a news conference in Ottawa, RCMP Commissioner Mike Duham and Assistant Commissioner Bridget Gauvin also declined to say when the alleged crimes took place, how many investigations remain open, or how many Indian government agents are implicated. Commissioner Duham said the police have gathered evidence that allegedly reveals the, quote, breadth and depth of criminal activity orchestrated by agents of the government of India, end quote.
Mr. Trudeau said the police preemptively released the allegations against India in an effort to, quote, disrupt the pattern of Indian diplomats, end quote, collecting information on Canadians through, quote, questionable and illegal means, end quote. Mr. Trudeau alleged that information was then fed to criminal organizations which subsequently committed violent crimes, including killing and extortion. Quote, we will never tolerate the involvement of a foreign government threatening and killing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil, a deeply unacceptable violation of Canada's sovereignty and of international law, end quote, the Prime Minister said. So this is pretty sensational, given the fact that whenever the RCMP is brought forth to committee, they never answer any questions because they say there's an ongoing investigation. Yet here they are at a press conference giving a whole bunch of information on an ongoing investigation.
Well, it seems to me like they wanted the public to be aware of what was happening, but not in any detail. They just, this is happening, but we're not going to tell you anything about it. But just this thing is happening.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. But here's a question in regarding to accountability of these people that are committing these alleged crimes, and you'll probably be as confused as we are at the answer. Take a look.
Following up on Marika's question, when it comes to accountability for some of these folks, can you help me explain to people what avenues you have to hold India and Indian agent and officials accountable when it comes to more than just the bit players who are on the ground? What are the challenges, and what avenues do you have available to actually mete out that accountability?
So there's a number of law enforcement actions that we can take. Charges or criminal prosecutions is an option, but it's not necessarily the best option. That's why For example, we created this national task force, which is comprised of, it's a multidisciplinary team comprised of a number of federal government agencies, which has a focus on investigating and prosecuting, for example, Khalistani violent extremism and also foreign interference by agents of the government of India. Now, I mentioned investigations and prosecutions. That is an option, but it is a whole of government issue. It's a whole of government strategy, and therefore we could apply other disruptive measures to mitigate the threat. The objective here is Canada's public safety, and therefore sometimes prosecutions and charges are not the best option.
Did I hear that correctly?
Oh yeah, and so did all of you. We have our federal police force, and I repeat that, police force, saying that, well, you know, when we're dealing with foreign interference like this, sometimes prosecuting isn't the best option. Now, I'm trying to put myself in the devil's advocate and just objectively on this. So I imagine what she is saying, because she also said this is a whole of government issue. I imagine what she's saying is, well, if we just, you know, grabbed agents from the Indian government and started prosecuting them, that would deepen the problematic relationship that the government of Canada has with India, which would be true. However, what message does that send to every other country in terms of foreign interference in Canada? That tells me that, yeah, come on in. You can operate unimpeded. We're not going to arrest you. We're not going to charge you. We're just going to ask you to leave.
Well, a thought occurs. Can they even prosecute these people because they were diplomats?
Well, that's the thing. And that's the question.
Because they haven't really given us very much information. I don't believe all diplomats receive diplomatic immunity, maybe only certain ones. So, like, did these people have diplomatic immunity in our country?
Well, this is the problem. We don't know who they're referring to, right?
Well, and that's exactly it. They started this press conference just to say, we're kicking out these officials, but that's all we're going to tell you.
Yeah, and by the way, if anyone approaches you trying to extort you or coerce you that might be Indian, maybe you should come and talk to the RCMP. Like,
well, that's a horrible thing to say. Like, I mean, none of this makes sense, which is why we're having so much trouble piecing it together. It seems to me like they had this press conference when really they could have just sent a bunch of notifications off to a bunch of newspapers and media outlets to say the exact same thing without having a press conference where they say nothing.
Right. And they were actually asked about why they even had this press conference today. Take a look at this.
I guess I'm wondering, why was this press conference happening today now? I mean, it's Thanksgiving holiday in Canada. Why was this all coming out now?
Thank you, Samira. It's all we've been working on this for quite some time, and the meeting that took place October 12th we did not meet the objectives that we wanted to make sure that we could collaborate and work together and ensure a safer Canada for our citizens. And we felt it was important, based on our investigations, what we're seeing, and the lack of collaboration, is to come out and make sure that we inform the Canadian public of what we're seeing and asking their assistance if they see anything or feel anything.
So they met with the counterparts in the Indian law enforcement agency on October 12th, didn't get the answers that they wanted, so they rushed out and had a press conference today.
On Thanksgiving Day, when most Canadians are not watching the news, when it's a holiday. Like, this is just so very bizarre.
Well, and I had a theory about this earlier in the day. Tanya had a theory about this earlier in the day, and I think we just kind of had it on our own and met in the middle. And unbeknownst to Trudeau, he actually confirmed the reason for everybody. Take a look.
I had many conversations with members of my team and caucus members over the past number of days, and all those conversations were focused on the well-being and the safety of Canadians faced with these significant security concerns and allegations. The safety of Canadians is the number one thing that any government, that any parliamentarians should be preoccupied with, and that is exactly what we're focused on. There will be time to talk about internal party intrigue at another moment, but right now, this government, and indeed all parliamentarians, should be focused on standing up for Canada's sovereignty, standing against interference, and looking to be there to support Canadians in this difficult moment.
And there you have it.
Right there. Inter-party intrigue should be, you know, less of an issue than what's happening right now in terms of India and us kicking out these diplomats.
So how interesting is this, right? Trudeau's in Asia last week. His caucus descends into chaos. The House is descended into chaos. They can't get any bills through. And all of a sudden, you have the RCMP have a press conference on Thanksgiving talking about the fact that there's this big threat from India and yada, yada, yada. Even though we've been doing this investigation for 2 years, now we're going to actually decide, this is big. We should be talking about this. Why would he do this? Well, all of a sudden, you have something new in the news cycle, like, replacing all of that business with these MPs that are revolting in his party about the government descending into chaos and to try to quell the scandals that are plaguing the Liberals right now. And my bet is he's also going to try to use this as an excuse to get rid of that motion that has been paralyzing Parliament, so that he can say, well, we need to be, looking at government business to pass something for some sort of excuse as a result to combat the foreign interference.
Yes, I would not doubt if he's going to end or submit a motion of closure to try to end what's going on in the House with the excuse that they need to legislate something in regards to this crisis with the Indian diplomats.
Despite the fact that the public inquiry is not over, and the RCMP was asked, have you turned all of this information for this investigation over to the public inquiry? Well, no, because it's an ongoing investigation. And they were asked a whole bunch of other questions. Well, we can't answer that because it's an ongoing investigation. Then why the hell did you call a press conference?
Right.
Oh, right. Probably because your boss told you to call one. And now that's in the news cycle. So Trudeau is probably going to try and, introduce some sort of, new government legislation, and then jump up and down and point at the Bloc and the Conservatives and say, look, see, these guys don't care about foreign interference. They don't care about the safety of Canadians. They care about politics. You just watch. That's my guess at what's coming. So very suspicious timing. I think this is exactly why this is actually happening. This isn't downplaying any potential interference that the government of India is actually playing. If this is actually going on, it's reprehensible and it needs to stop.
But the timing of this press conference is extremely suspicious.